welcome to the Mighty Dragon, and welcome back to Allie. Hello, Allie.
Hello. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. We've had lots of technical meltdowns this morning, so just even conducting this podcast is a miracle in itself. So
I'm complete technophobe as well.
Don't worry. I think when updates happen, it tends to screw everything up, doesn't it? So it's meant to make your life easier, but it doesn't.
No.
So we decided to make this podcast about Jim Carrey. As we know, your favourite comedy film is Dumb and Dumber, and I'm really interested in Jim Carrey. There you go. You got your T-shirt there.
I am a diehard fan, yes.
Diehard fan there. And I'm really interested in Jim Carrey, obviously because he's a great actor, and also in his other side, which we'll get onto later in the second part of this podcast. But first of all, we're going to talk about the genius film Dumb and Dumber. Where do we start?
Where do you start? Well, okay, so it was made in 1994, and the writers were the Farrelly brothers. It was released in cinemas on the 7th of April 1995.
Okay.
So we're talking how many, 30 odd years ago now?
Yeah, it's so long ago. Where did that time go?
I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't, when you watch it, it doesn't date.
Yeah.
Or for me it doesn't date, but no, it never dates, and the humor doesn't date either. So to think it's like nearly 30 years ago is just like mad.
Do you know what? I think it's that whole slapstick humor. It just doesn't die, does it?
No.
It will always remain funny. Even slapstick stuff like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and all of those guys, their stuff is still really funny. And I think Dumb and Dumber is just one more modern day example of a funny classic film that won't ever go out of fashion.
Yeah, it's like Laurel and Hardy. Still watch them, don't you? And still it's still funny.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, toilet humor gets me every time.
Which brings me on
I am really 54 years old.
I was going to say, just off of toilet humor, is that your favourite scene?
You know what? It's just like we've all been there, haven't we?
Yeah. Although you'd hope someone hasn't spiked your drink or something to get to that point.
But oh my God, it was just, I remember seeing an interview with Jeff Daniels, and somebody said to him, this scene is either going to make your career or break it. And, it just made it. And oh my God, it's just, I think it's so relatable, and his stomach starts gurgling on the motorbike.
Yeah.
And you think, oh no. I think it's a classic scene, the poor God.
I know. I thought it was interesting that Jim met his wife on there, his wife at the time.
Yeah.
They got married,
Lauren Holly,
didn't they?
yeah. They did,
I thought that was very interesting. I really liked the dynamic between them two in the film, and obviously the dynamic between him and Jeff Daniels. And I think for this film, it was something very unusual for Jeff Daniels to do. Not so much Jim Carrey, but for Jeff Daniels, it seemed to be quite an unusual choice. But he wanted, I believe, to work with Jim Carrey so much, he just took a massive pay cut or something to have that opportunity to do that. So I think that says a lot about him as the integrity of that actor. Of Jeff Daniels.
And like you say, their bond with each other was just, I couldn't ever imagine anybody else being Harry Dunn.
Yeah, exactly. What's your favorite line or memorable line from it, do you think?
Oh gosh, do you know, I'm one of those really, really sad people that knows every single line before it even comes up. And there's so many fantastically funny lines in it, and you just think, oh God, but I think one of my favourites has got to be when Lloyd is trying to persuade Harry to drive him to Aspen to take the suitcase back to Mary Swanson. And so he's trying to persuade him, and so he says, well, you just want me to drive you to Aspen, don't you? And Jim Carrey says, yeah, I just want somebody to plug us into the social pipeline and all that. And so Harry says, I don't know, Lloyd, Aspen, the French are arseholes. It's so funny, it's just it's literally just full of the most hilarious lines. I could talk for hours about all my favorite lines, but that is just one of the that's one of the funniest ones.
For me, I think one of the funniest moments is a complete Jim Carrey ad-lib moment where he says, have you ever heard the most annoying sound in the world? And he goes, and then, literally you can see Jeff Daniels' face just, and it was completely ad-libbed. And I just think being on set with those two must have been absolutely hilarious. I just cannot imagine what the experience of working with Jim Carrey would be like. Can you imagine how
I'd love it. I'd love it. But
his energy, like
and he just comes out with these naturally funny things, doesn't he? Like that I'm going off topic now, but like that scene in Ace Ventura when he's got that bag of spinach, that bunch of spinach, and he goes, have I got something in my teeth? And he dangles it in front of his face. It's just hilarious.
I think as well. I watched Dumb and Dumber 2, their follow-up in 2014. And it seems a lot later than 2014, so I hope I said that correctly, but they did a second one, didn't they? And what did you think of that? Did you love that?
I actually I really did like it, because there's another one that's a prequel, because I've got the box set now. Of course I have. Of course I've got the box set. But I really liked it. And of course they've got is it Kathleen Turner who is in that one? She plays
exactly right.
She plays the ex-girlfriend, Frida Felcher. I thought it was really funny actually, and their old flat. So Harry's new flatmate is a crack dealer. He's making crack, and their cat is called Butthole.
Oh God!
And it's so high on crack, it's swinging around on the what do you call it? The fan in the middle of the. Oh my God! It's just hilarious. It's so funny.
Oh my God, I tell you, because they still had that guy stroking that budgie, didn't they? The blind guy,
Petey,
doing that. That was I thought that was quite good as well, and I really hope they do another one when they're really old men. I hope they do. I would love that. I hope they end that. Wouldn't it?
That? Do you remember that scene in Dumb and Dumber 2 when he tries to pull his catheter out?
Oh, and he was lying all the time, wasn't he? Back there.
It's like,
that
and
is
he's changing his nappy, and oh my God,
brilliant! I love it.
It's so funny, love it.
So with Jim Carrey, when we're looking at Jim Carrey, I've always found him an intriguing character, I would say. We've seen slapstick, as I mentioned earlier, done so many times. We've got Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and all of those guys. But Jim, I felt, had a certain edge about him. And you could see through his career that he would go on to play characters like Andy Kaufman and all of those other deeper characters that he went on to play. And with Jim Carrey too, you can see on YouTube, especially, and I'll link a few below this blog, loads of inspirational speeches of his law of attraction speeches. He's very much into reality creation, of yourself being able to create your own reality. And I think one of his most famous quotes is when he wrote out his $10 million check and he kept it in his pocket. And that was his pay packet, I believe, in Dumb and Dumber. He was on the Oprah show telling this story. I'll link that below. And he's very much into that. And I feel that from his career, you've got Ace Ventura, you've got The Mask, Cable Guy, Dumb and Dumber, Batman Forever, Liar Liar, The Truman Show, could go on and on and on and on. However, it seemed like as his career just completely skyrocketed, it actually, he himself kind of stripped away behind that slapstick character and actor to the real core of himself. And I don't know, one of my favorite appearances of his is nothing to do with any of his films or TV work. It's actually a shot of him at the New York not New York Film Festival, it was the New York Fashion Week. And
yes,
the lady, she was so over the top, and she was like, "Hi Jim, you're here, and what are you looking forward to?" or something like that. And he just said, "Do you know what, I just wanted to come to the most pointless thing I could find, and this is it." And you could tell her face was like, what, like, and I was like, good on you, Jim. There should be more people like this in the world. And I feel like he is someone who's potentially hit depression and come out of it the other side quite an evolved, enlightened character himself. What do you think?
I think this is very happens often, doesn't it, with brilliant comedians, is that they suffer from very severe depression.
Peter Sellers, John Cleese,
and Tony Hancock,
Tony Hancock,
I think he's had such periods of terrible depression and then come out of it, and I think so he's developed that sense of awareness, hasn't he? That extra sense of awareness. And I did read actually where he said that he can, although he's had several bouts of depression during his life, he has actually learnt now more to cope with it. So, and I understand that totally, because having had depression myself since I was a child, I can relate to that. You do learn how to manage it better the older you get, I think.
Right.
So but I think he was possibly quoted as saying that he now finds it a little bit easier to cope, to manage it, the older you get. But his speeches are just fascinating.
Phenomenal.
I didn't actually realize, I didn't know about them until you mentioned it to me, and then so I was sort of like on YouTube, really just going through all these speeches, and he said that, like when his dad lost his job, I think when he was early 50s, wasn't he, his dad, and they had to live in in a trailer for a while. And so he said, the times I've gone out into the middle of a cornfield, he said, and asked the universe for whatever. But that's the 10,000, was it 10, not 10 million. 10,000, 10 million. No, you wouldn't do it for 10,000, would you? 10 million. That was amazing.
I think as a young actor, he probably did pursue the whole fame route, but it really doesn't define him as a person. And I think that really comes across with him. He's very grounded. And for that statement, although it just seemed like a flyaway comment at the New York Fashion Week, I think it really said something about the state of humanity, just how vain and just pointless a load of this stuff is, where we should be really buckling down to the real human side of us, like helping other people and stuff. I could go on forever about this.
Me too.
With Jim, I think he'll continue to be a really great actor in loads of different things, but I think for me, Jim Carrey is more than that. To me, he's a bit like Russell Brand. I think him and Russell Brand have gone kind of down the same route. And I feel with Russell Brand is that he had beaten his addictions and everything. And he's now like giving talks on YouTube. May not be up everyone's street, to be fair, or everyone's cup of tea, but I find them so interesting, and they're so deep and knowledgeable, and he like, you know, and I just find that this side much more interesting. Although I obviously love Jim's work and everything, but I feel like he's got such a message to give, you know, his audience and his fans and everything. And also you're going to get people who expect Jim to be just like this slapstick person anyway, and he's really not like that. He's very deep, you know. He's a very deep person, and that's probably only just one side of him, you know.
He does. I know what you mean by sort of when you think of Jim, you think of Lloyd Christmas, don't you? And then Ace Ventura, and you know, but he's done some really good serious roles as well. Really good. You know, almost to the point where you think, is that really Jim Carrey?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this picture I have here is just, to me, this is him rather than the old Jim. I would say this is the person. I think, you know, like, this is a glimpse of possibly the real Jim Carrey, the real person. What did you see the film about Andy Kaufman and the actual documentary? It's good, isn't it?
It is. There's another couple of films that he's been in, and he was flipping amazing. The Number 23. Have you seen that? That's a serious film.
Oh, I'm gonna go and check that out though.
Check that out. And the other one that stands out for me is I Love You, Philip Morris. You ever seen that?
No.
Oh my God. And Ewan McGregor is his partner in it. Oh my goodness me. It is such a good film.
Yeah, I do need to see more of his serious work. I do.
Yeah. It's part comedy, but partly serious. And it is about a guy that was embezzling lots of companies, you know. And Ewan McGregor is McGregor, not McGregor. McGregor is his partner in it. But it's a fantastic film, and I think that's based on fact. I think I Love You, Philip Morris. It's called. Yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic.
That's the Jim. I think that behind you now is the real Jim Carrey. It'd be interesting to sort of have a really good chat with him, wouldn't it? And you know, about sort of, you know, stuff that matters really.
Life.
And because I can totally understand where he's coming from when he went to, what was it, the fashion whatever, you know. That is the fashion world is probably one of the most vacuous, shallow and narcissistic
absolutely
there is, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I hope he just turns up at other stuff like that and just says those things as well. And God, so much respect to him for that. You know, I bet they thought, wow, we've got a great big celebrity on here now, and you know, what's he gonna be looking at? Actually, nothing.
Actually, nothing really.
Fuck all, really. Yeah. So I have to put the explicit tag on this podcast. But a lot of respect to Jim for that, and for everything he stands for as a person. So this was going to be a very quick podcast today because I'm heading off to Cornwall. So I'm going to be packing up and jumping in a tent for a few days and just getting away from it all. So
are you going kayaking?
Yes, we'll be kayaking around St Michael's Mount.
I love it there. Oh my gosh, so beautiful down there. Gorgeous.
That's going to be super exciting, and we're all looking forward to it. So
oh, how lovely. Have a fantastic time, because it is nature wise, you can't get better. It's beautiful.
Big thanks to Allie for joining me on this podcast, and see you soon on The Mighty Dragon.